What's up everybody, Alexis Kimberly here. Welcome back to my channel. I know that I missed you guys last week. I'm so sorry. Life has just been really hectic, really crazy. So I did miss you guys last week, but I'm back today to give you guys a new video and some fresh new content. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about something that I think is really important, which is what relaxers should you be using. We're going to be talking about the different types of relaxers, the most commonly used relaxers on the market right now, which are lye relaxers, no-lye relaxers, and that relaxer in between those two relaxers that nobody really talks about, which is the Lo-Lye relaxer. So we are going to be fleshing out all of the information on that. So if you're interested in hearing that information, then you're definitely gonna wanna stick to the end of this video. And if you're not subscribed to my channel already, then you're definitely gonna wanna hit that red button down below, as well as the notification bell so that you can be alerted every time I upload a video every single Sunday. Now, for those of you who are super new to the relaxer hair game, relaxers are a chemical process that breaks down the disulfide bonds in your hair to restructure and straighten your hair's natural curl pattern. Now, the most common type of relaxer chemical used are hydroxide-based relaxers. And those hydroxide-based relaxers can be broken down into two types: lye relaxers and no-lye relaxers. And really the difference between the two is the chemical makeup. So we're first going to start off with lye relaxers. Lye relaxers are made up of sodium hydroxide. That's the chemical inside of a lye relaxer. And typically you're not going to find lye relaxers just, like on the counter at your local beauty supply store, because typically lye relaxers are considered professional grade. And so typically they're only sold directly to licensed cosmetologists, licensed professionals. And the reason for that is because sodium hydroxide relaxers or lye relaxers tend to have a higher pH than no-lye relaxers. The higher you go on the pH scale, the stronger the relaxer chemical gets. So lye relaxers can actually go as high as 13 or 14 on the pH scale. And for those of you who don't know, the pH scale can range from 0 to 14, and some lye relaxers can reach a pH of as high as 14. So it really is important that a professional deals with these kinds of chemicals. And because the pH in that chemical is potentially or can potentially go so high, those relaxers actually process a lot faster. The chemical itself is typically more aggressive. So those kinds of relaxers should really be used for people who have really coarse hair or really resistant hair, like hair that's resistant to chemical treatments, hair that's resistant to color treatments, things like that. Now, lye relaxers are said to be harder on the scalp and easier on the hair. So what that means is that it's easier on the hair in that it does not leave mineral deposits on your hair, which I'll explain in a moment. But those mineral deposits tend to make your hair super dry. It tends to dull out the hair. So it's easier on the hair in the sense that it does not leave those mineral deposits. And again, I'll explain that more in a second. But it is harder on the scalp. So the sodium hydroxide chemical tends to be more irritating to the scalp than no-lye relaxers. So people who have dry scalp, people who have an itchy scalp, who have sensitive scalp, sometimes it's better to go with a no-lye relaxer because it's going to be gentler on your scalp and you won't get that burning sensation so quickly. Speaking on the burning sensation though, a lot of people, I think it's kind of like one of those things where we just kind of carry on from generation to generation, but that burning sensation that you feel in a lot of instances for a lot of people, that's your cue, oh, okay, the relaxer's finished processing, I can go to the sink and rinse because now I'm burning. That's not the way that it should be, but for a lot of people, that's kind of their indicator. Instead of using a clock to time their relaxer process, they will just go by, okay, is my scalp on fire? Okay, let me go to the sink, which is really not the way that you should be doing your relaxers. But for a lot of people, that's their indicator that their relaxer is done. And so the thing is that if that's the way that people are deciding that their relaxer is finished, or if that's the point at which they rinse their relaxer. In a lot of instances, your relaxer is going to actually be under processed, because instead of allowing the relaxer to fully process on your hair for the amount of time that it needs to, you're rushing to the sink because your scalp is irritated, and so you're cutting the relaxer process short. So in a lot of instances, you might actually be under processing the hair because your scalp is actually being irritated faster than your hair is processing. Okay, so now we're moving over to the no-lye relaxers. And these are the relaxers that you typically see over the counter, that you can find at your beauty supply store, at Sally's, that come in a box that you can pick up for like $6 or $7. These are going to be those types of relaxers. Now, these types of relaxers are made, again, of a hydroxide-based formula, but it's a different kind. It's a variant of the hydroxide-based formula. So you will find it in a calcium hydroxide sometimes. You'll find it in a lithium hydroxide sometimes. You'll see it in guanidine hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. There's all different kinds of variants of hydroxide. So if it's not sodium hydroxide, you can be pretty sure that it is a no-lye relaxer with some sort of variant chemical: calcium hydroxide, lithium hydroxide, guanidine hydroxide, you name it. You name it. So what was I saying? Now, typically, no-lye relaxers have a lower pH than lye relaxers. So they're said to be less aggressive. The chemical is less aggressive than that of a lye relaxer. So you could, in truth, keep your relaxer, the no-lye relaxer, on your hair for a longer period of time, because it does process a bit slower than a lye relaxer does. And because the no-lye relaxer has a lower pH than a lye relaxer, in a lot of instances, no-lye relaxers are better for people with fine hair, with thin hair, with hair that processes very quickly, is not stubborn like resistant hair is. Those kinds of hair types, hair textures, can not all the time, but can benefit from a no-lye relaxer. No-lye relaxers are said to be harsher on the hair, but gentler on the scalp. And what does that mean? No-lye relaxers leave calcium deposits on your hair. So no-lye relaxers come in a box kit. They come in a cream, with a cream base, and then you have the activator that you have to pour into the cream base, mix the formula together to get to make the product itself active, to activate the chemical. And so when you're mixing those things together, you're actually becoming a little bit of a chemist, because you're actually mixing chemicals together. You're mixing a chemical agent called guanidine carbonate and the calcium hydroxide, and you're putting that together. And when those two chemicals come together, it releases a byproduct, which are mineral deposits, calcium deposits that just remain on your hair strands as a result of your chemical processing. So those mineral deposits actually are pretty harsh on your hair, because they clog the follicle, they block moisture to your hair, coming into your hair, and they also leave your hair with a really dull type of odd color kind of look. And so no-lye relaxers are actually said to be harsher on the hair for those reasons, because of those mineral deposits that are left on your hair as a result of that chemical process. But it is gentler on the scalp, and it's gentler in the sense that the chemical formula in these no-lye relaxers tend to be less irritating to the scalp than lye relaxers. So you could actually leave a no-lye relaxer on for a longer period of time than you could a lye relaxer, because you're not going to get the same burning sensation, the same irritating sensation that you're gonna see or that you're gonna feel on your scalp. And that could potentially be to a fault though. So just be aware of that, because if you are somebody who knows that their relaxer is done based on whether or not their scalp is irritating, well, you might not get that irritating sensation when you have a no-lye relaxer. So you're going to want to make sure that you're not over processing your hair with a no-lye relaxer. Now, what I may have forgotten to mention is that with those calcium deposits, you actually can sort of fix that problem. You can buy what's called a chelating shampoo, And those types of shampoos are really good about stripping your hair of those mineral deposits so that your hair can be more receptive to moisture and you don't have that same like dull, discolored look to your hair. But that's just something to be aware of when you're buying your relaxer. Now, getting into that thing right in between, which is the Lo-Lye relaxer. There's the no-lye, there's the lye, and then there's the Lo-Lye relaxer that nobody really knows about or talks about. And the only reason why I kind of know about Lo-Lye relaxers is because that is actually what I use. And I actually have to say that I am really pleased with my Lo-Lye relaxer, and I'll tell you why. So Lo-Lye relaxers are precisely what they sound like. They are a lower strength relaxer. They have a lower pH than normal lye relaxers, but they do still possess that sodium hydroxide chemical. However, the sodium hydroxide chemical is in a lower concentration than a full strength lye relaxer. Now, I really like the Lo-Lye relaxer because I think you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the benefit of the sodium hydroxide by not having those calcium deposits sitting on your hair, but you also get the benefit of having a lower pH or a lower strength, lower concentration lye relaxer. So it's kind of like it combines the best of both worlds. Now, for me, I have a sensitive scalp. I actually used to use a sensitive scalp relaxer, and I remember my stylist would mix the two, so it was like I knew it was a no-lye relaxer because she had to like mix the cream and the activator and use a little spoolie and mix it, you know, do that whole thing. And she would apply it to my hair because I had a sensitive scalp, and I remember my hair used to, or my scalp used to be on fire. Like it used to be burning. So we knew that we needed to go with something that was a sensitive scalp formula. But we ultimately transitioned to a Lo-Lye relaxer, which I actually think has been really beneficial to my hair. I've seen a lot of great results with that product. I don't experience any sort of like dulling when it comes to my hair. My hair has a nice sheen to it. I don't have to worry about calcium deposits and buying a chelating shampoo and making sure that I'm removing those mineral deposits from my hair. And at the same time, I don't experience really any scalp irritation whatsoever, guys. Like when I tell you, like, I can't remember the last time my scalp has burned. Like I don't personally, and this is coming from somebody who has a sensitive scalp, and I'm also very tender-headed, I don't experience any burning. Now, we do base my scalp and we base it thoroughly, but with the Lo-Lye relaxer, you really do see the difference between the full strength of a lye relaxer and that of a Lo-Lye relaxer. The formula is slightly less concentrated, so you don't feel that irritation so quickly. Now, another thing that I wanted to just throw out there, because it does exist, and even though it's not really like a very popular type of straightening method, it is out there, and you actually can really mess up your hair if you are not paying attention to the type of chemical that you are picking up at the store, and that is thioglycolate based relaxers. Now, thioglycolate is a formula. It is a low pH formula ranging somewhere between 6 and 9 on the pH scale. Again, that pH scale can range from 0 to 14, and typically your hair's natural pH is somewhere between 4.5 and 5.5. And in ammonium thioglycolate, that is actually the chemical formula that's used in wave nouveaux. So for some of you, you may or may not know what a wave nouveau is. It's also known as a curly perm. It used to be referred to as a jerry curl. It's like that. It's that formula that was used back in the day to achieve that wet curly look. And basically the ammonium thioglycolate is used to release the disulfide bonds in your hair and straighten your hair, and then you rod your hair up with perm rods, and it's a whole thing or whatever, and then that's how you get the curl, whatever. So anyway, the point is that ammonium thioglycolate is also a chemical relaxant that you can find typically again in wave nouveaux or curly perms. Now these kinds of formulas are not very good at straightening your hair. Like I said, it's a very, very, very low pH in relation to what else is on the market. Like I said, lye relaxers can range from 13 to 14 on the pH scale. So it's a very, 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 very low pH relaxer. Now sometimes you will see ammonium thioglycolate or some sort of thiol based chemical relaxant in texturizers, curl loosener kind of products. You get what I mean. You will sometimes find ammonium glycolate in those products. So just be aware of that, because it is death on your hair if you use ammonium thioglycolate along with a hydroxide based relaxer. Those relaxers do not mix well at all. You are definitely going to see damage if you combine those two. So definitely read your products, guys. Read your ingredients, the box, so that you are informed when you put something on your hair, because you can literally have a mess on your hands if you're not careful. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up my full explanation on all the different types of relaxers that are out there on the market, at least the most popular ones: the lye relaxer, the no-lye relaxer, the Lo-Lye relaxer, the ammonium thioglycolate. I mean, I feel like a chemist up in here because I'm like, you know, spitting chemical compounds and whatnot. But yeah, so I hope that that was informative. I hope that that was helpful. I hope that that gives you guys a little bit more information and just an aid for deciding what relaxer you should use when you decide to relax your hair. Leave a comment down below. Let us know, what kind of relaxer do you use? Do you use a lye relaxer? Do you use a no-lye relaxer? Do you use a Lo-Lye relaxer? Have you even heard of a Lo-Lye relaxer? What's your relaxer prep? Leave a comment down below. Let's start a conversation about it. And until next time, guys, I will see you all next week in my next video. Bye, guys.